move towards the next session, that is on the topic Edge Computing, Key Tenet for Digital Transformation. And for this, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Rajesh Dangi. Giving a brief introduction for Mr. Rajesh, he's a seasoned technology evangelist with over 3 decades of leadership experience as CIO, CISO, and CTO, with a strong background in information technology, cloud, and data center services, emerging technologies, engineering services, DevOps, release services, information security and compliance management. He carries rich and diversified experience in project, technical product management, people management, training and development, and operations. With this, please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
It's so great to meet people and talk to them. The corona hit us so bad, and I'm really feeling it very great to meet Anil, other colleagues. Little bit of emotional this thing, because me and Anil, I think we worked 2 decades back. We hosted Visa's first payment gateway in India. I was Control-A's customer. Then I moved into NextGen, built their managed services and a lot of other stuff. And life has been exciting. If you see what is excitement source, is this, Jai Hind. I work with Oracle, NetApp, so many bigger multinationals, managed NetApp's 20,000 rack, 16 data centers worldwide, sitting in Bangalore. What gave me a pride in recent thing is that we built India's first indigenous open source based cloud. And this was a real punch. Thank you. This is excitement. I just lost my key control, right? What is exciting is Modi ji inaugurated that on the 5G in India Mobile Congress. Ashwini ji gave us full support in terms of going forward, because we believe strongly that still we are being captive digitally by outsiders. And I see this, that all of you have a sentiment towards country, obviously, which is far more obvious, but how do we kind of propel in that direction? Having said that, I just wanted to put some perspective in terms of how, I think Ravindra ji just said that the next revolution is going to be edge, right? And what is causing this is what we wanted to dwell upon. So I believe there are 3 dimensions, 3 Ds, right? Device, data, and data centers. I think Anil, I can't beat Anil in data centers. It's amazing in terms of the depth from non-IT to IT kind of things. You have heard Kushal, Ravindra bringing their own perspective as the users. In my 30 years of experience, 15 years I was on the other side. I held positions like head of IT for Coca-Cola India, where I understand manufacturing and other stuff, and then to this side where I'm actually fulfilling what is required for the business. So understanding both dimensions is very important and useful for that context. So talking about data, I think we have also understood data is a soil. I like that term because you can grow anything. I've been a budding and wannabe farmer, so I understand how one bud of a plant gives me kind of a joy. But if you really see that we are building bigger data centers, I think India is as 445 megawatts today, and Adani ji is building 1000 watt, megawatt kind of a data center in next 10 years. Controllers, NTT, everybody is pouring this why. This why is this reason of data device, right? Most of the consumption that you see, how many of you are still using only computers without accessing your mails or any other stuff on mobiles? I don't think I can expect a single hand going up, right? Now, the thought process there is that 75% of the consumption of the content is happening on mobiles. And these mobiles, unfortunately, fortunately, are connected by ISPs. So I would beg to differ with Anil a little bit. I understand information corridors, centering of data center parks, they are all going to be serving to the crowd which is actually dispersed in the India. And that is where we are also aligned in terms of putting more on the edges. If you look at what is happening, the drivers of change, right? I belong to this era. My first Oracle certification was in 1996 with 7.1 as their first this thing. I was the guy who wrote client server applications for United Phosphorus, Supreme Industries, and I was a programmer and I was proud And that is what my father understands me doing. He is a programmer for him. The second portion which came was a decentralization. Every branch, everything was, onto this. But now what is the reality is that the transactions have been taken over by interactions. On the social media, when you put a like button, is not a transaction, it is an interaction. And that is what is actually creating a P2P kind of a transactional thought process. We are way beyond on our transactions from applications. We are now into social media, there is IoT, there are drones and a lot of other things which are machine to machine. I will cover it in subsequent slides. But I am trying to build this, saying that the thought process here is very important, that the old formulas are no longer working, be it security, be it in compute, be it in storage, be it in network. We heard Gopan saying that, okay, what is the thought process of connecting two GPU things? We run India's first HPC free HPC cloud. We give 1 lakh core hours free to any academic institution without no cost, so that we can then part. But the issues that came to us is that how do we connect one component of a host to another component, and that is where the discussion happened, that how do we ensure that a DPU or a data center itself becomes a common repository of resources. Having said that, we have already talked about monolith applications to containers and virtualization. I'm not even talking about containers because we see maybe 5 to 8% of the workloads have moved toward containers. It will take time. We were probably the guys who invested into containers, but the consumption we don't see in that much. It's all VMs till date. For a cloud company, when you talk, the first discussion happens is virtual instances. Now, these are the things. This is my first slide in terms of the heading is from transactions to interactions, right? Who is interacting? The interactions are no longer susceptible between a client or an application to a server. It is going to be mobile to mobile. A WebRTC protocol, when you go on Google Meet, which is built on 𝗔𝗍, is a WebRTC. It is talking, one mobile is talking to another mobile. There is no server engine. There are obviously certain session managements and all that, but once the session is established, you're talking between one mobile to another mobile. So where is this data center coming in picture? It is all about how one mobile app is connecting and talking to another mobile app, which is completely decentralized, right? Three very important aspects which will actually impact the way we are now thinking about strategies and applications. 5G. I was privileged to witness 2.3 gigahertz of a speed on my own phone on Airtel when PM inaugurated 5G, and it was fabulous. The 3 gig of my files from which the photographs I could sync with my cloud storage in no time, where we were actually struggling for bandwidth. So roti, kapda, makan and bandwidth, the bandwidth is coming through with 5G. The problem is it is again going to solve the urban side of it, right? Think about a plant or a port. I remember when first time, I think in 2003, I think Ramesh is there, when we were doing connectivity, is my old ex-colleague from Coca-Cola. We were struggling to get our plants connected because the nearest tower was 11 kilometers away. So no cell phones were working. The first lease line we got, I think the first lease line between Biddi and this was 64 kbps. And that was the era when, it's the same era that I can see till date, that the rural India is still starved with connectivity. So the digital India, what you said, the UPI is seriously thinking about SMS-based transactions. Why? Is because the bandwidth at a rural exchange. I have a farm 80 kilometers away from Bangalore. I get 10 kbps, 20 kbps, and maximum 1 Mbps is like I'm overjoyed. And this is 100 kilometers from a mega city, right? A Silicon Valley from India. So that's reality. What I am optimistic is that the satellite broadband, once that would come in, and probably that's a policy decision that you want to first make money with 5G and then roll out the satellite broadband, because TDM, TDMA satellites and internet access was old time thing. Today, we have maximum amount of set-top boxes in India, which are connected via satellite. So it is not difficult to put a small transponder to send something up, because uplinks are always 15% of your downlinks, right? Any which way. So having said this, IPv6 again, this is again another revolution. It is taking time in terms of adoption. The build, these are the strategies that we were thinking, saying that if IPv6 comes, you don't need DNS servers. The biggest fallacy in India today is that we are using US DNS servers. 8.8.8.8 is a configuration that is inherited everywhere. I'm not against that, but the problem is the 8.8.8.8 asks my phone, who is you? What applications are you running? Why are you running? All this data is going out, and we have 16 million phones which are sending this 2 KB, 5 KB of data somewhere across the globe. Why? So we are building this DNS service, and probably another 6 months that should be live in India. This is a blessing from 𝗘𝗏, and that's the strategy that we are following. And that is one of the passionate pulses that I get in terms of how do we transform. I don't want to talk about use cases. Everybody understands use cases of 5G, digital wallets and everything. I think we have been, now it is no longer a wannabe kind of a factor. We are telling other countries saying, hey, this is the way you should follow. So I'm far more excited to look at that. Edge cloud is the new pulse, right? The pulse is where you can actually decentralize certain things. You can actually run some workloads. I think Ravindraji said it very correctly. What are the applications and the characteristics that you will put in data center? Edge is obviously a data center, but that is far more near to you. And then that is how you would bring in a lot of emerging technologies near to the user. And this near to the user could be your internal users sitting or putting an edge on your own factory or on a remote premise, or it could be a panchayat or a remote village where that edge would actually serve a citizen services centers kind of thing. Understand the edge characteristics, right? This is all these graphics are 𝗕𝗏𝗴𝗏 from internet. Please pardon, these are belonging to whomsoever has built them. Yeah, I'm just using them as an illustrative purpose here. But if you understand the edge characteristics, what are we talking about? I think Anil showed it, saying that a 2 millisecond kind of a latency. I think that is what is now creating certain things. We are now talking about a 5G cloud sitting and the edge which is sitting on the telecom tower itself. We built first prototype, we showcased it, saying that can I run a 3 petabyte worth of a storage, 800 GB of memory and 200 plus actual physical cores on the cell tower without any fans running in, and this is completely heat sink. This is first prototype, I think we showcased. I will show you some photographs, and we are so thrilled that this is all made in India. Everything that I'm talking about here on all these slides is made in India, made by India, and guys sitting within Indian geography and those startups. What do we get from edge, right? We get faster response times because you're putting your workloads near to your user. The latencies are far more improved. You get within less than a 10 milliseconds. I think an average mobile application can survive 8 to 10 milliseconds of a latency, and the user experience is also better. It can be scalable, interoperable, because you are actually hosting. So what is the typical edge looks like, right? You have compute, storage, and networks all inbuilt. You also have IX exchanges, which is what Anil was saying, that if 5 workloads are sitting together and exchanging, it's the same workloads that you can put on the edge. I will talk about 3 use cases that we are running on that edge so that you will understand how it works and co-creates and interoperate with each other in terms of doing that. And then obviously improved availability, because edge runs containers, edge runs virtual machines, and these are by default designed to fail safe. That means if you are load balancing with 2 or 3, this thing, so our edge form factor is minimum 3 nodes, where it requires for a quorum of a storage that we build, and that entire thing is built on open source. So what happens is that you have a storage, you have your compute, you have your orchestration, everything on the same single pane of glass, and you can control it from anywhere you are. The thought process is that we don't say that it is only edge which is going to take the data, because you would move the data by and between your core and edges. So the workloads, the philosophy about this is that you have edge workloads, which could be your CDN providers. So we don't compete, right? We are creating a niche segment. Like the fiber that we saw is being laid is going to carry everybody's data. It is not competing with each other. It is actually creating a digital infrastructure. So I think edge is a digital infrastructure that we are going to provide, so that a CDN player, smart caching kind of application can also sit simultaneously on that edge. We are looking at very close proximity in terms of overlay networks, creating certain things on secured replicated storage on the edge. We did this for one of the biggest government agencies, and we showcased to them that their data need not need any tool, the storage replicates on its own. And if even on a 10 to 50 Mbps of a line, whatever you are creating, incrementally it happens. The beauty of our working is that if you see many government applications, their utilization is between 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 in the night, in the day. And the night is where nothing is happening, where data can be easily replicated and journaling can happen. And that's how we actually created certain things on the cloud. I can't go on each of these points because it itself will take maybe another 2 to 3 hours. See, I'm actually a bit late. So what we created here is this, the self-standing edge cloud, which gives you a DNS service of its own. It gives you obviously virtual instances, managed services. It has its own monitoring engine. The alerts also are inbuilt. Unified storage. This storage gives you object storage as well as block storage. It runs your file services or file systems. And this is all what I'm talking is on open source. By the way, we run on these edges open source repositories also. So if you are upgrading your CentOS or Rocky Linux or Ubuntu, it is actually going and getting served from one of our edges today. This is a schematic quickly to understand that you have central manageability. If you want to put your cores on a local area network, you can actually deploy that. You can deploy these edges anywhere you want, but you can centrally manage it from anywhere. So these are browser-based systems. You can just log in with user ID credentials. This you can actually do a encryption with your public and private key on all users and all VMs, so that access can be on SSH rather than a password and all that. I can go on with multiple of these examples, but the crux of the matter is that this edge is ready, is actually running in the 3-tier or 4-tier cities like Agartala, Jammu, Baroda, Belgavi, and it is actually serving a lot of government kind of citizen service centers, CSC NICSI. We have been partnering with them. We have deployed these clouds on behalf of them, along with them, and all these workloads are now slowly transforming the experience that a user had, because earlier if a panchayat, he wants a caste certificate or do certain things, and then they will say typically that server is down. Now I think we are trying to say that if these applications sit onto these edges, at least we will start serving the needy of this country in terms of the rural portion of it. Like I said, this is a self-service dashboard. It gives you a complete visibility in terms of what your resources are. Consumption, now here you see out of 10 public IPs, I have already consumed 8. So it is giving me a quick this thing saying I have to add more range public IPs into this, so that we can build that. There are humongous amount of use cases that have to be tested. There are at least 28 different kind of workloads we partnered with other providers and actually tested on this edge, and it is actually working with a distributed manner. That means an application which is hosted in edge 1, edge 2, if something goes down, it is automatically picked up by edge 2 because it is again DNS based resolution, and then the show continues to go on. The first thing that we showcased to this was a video surveillance. There are some 180 cameras that we actually ingested. This also runs an open source transcoding engine. So all these feeds which are coming in, I can change codecs, bit rates. then I can hand it over to a platform which is an AI-enabled platform where you can do facial recognition, people count and all that. These are specifically useful for airports, railway stations and all that, where you can actually have, because India has maybe 18 lakhs plus CCTV cameras, but none of these cameras or feeds are correlated. They are all isolated, sitting in some DVD. So there is still a challenge that if I want to find a face, I should be able to find a face across all the railway stations and airports within minutes, which is still a dream. We run MLOps platform also on this, so whatever data we have ingested, we can actually do data analytics on that, and then we also do a model performance and efficiency on this edge, saying that how much have we actually, our models are, efficiency of the model in terms of whether that model is serving this data properly, does it require retraining and all that, and if retraining is a similar, kind of a model can be adopted. Okay, this is a busy slide. The crux of this is that we created this first, model of a private 5G. What is private 5G is that we take a specific N78 bit range spectrum, which is called CNPN for non-public use, and then deploy that. And this is the schematic. We tied up with an Indian 5G radio manufacturer called 𝗘𝗶𝗴𝗏. We are running a 5G open 5G core developed by Neural Networks, and this is actually sitting onto this rack and is being showcased. Very honored that the first call was made on that edge. Modi ji saw that, witnessed it, and then we got 𝗕𝗶𝗴𝗏 also inaugurating that as part of the Indian Mobile Congress. This is what is the testimony that we are actually putting back, where India has capabilities and India can build something on its own without relying to anybody else outside of this. There are lots of opportunities we've already talked about. You can enable IoT devices, you can get certain things done on industrial and robotics kind of a scenario where you need low latency. The entire edge can serve multiple use cases. It can actually sit in your own premise without having any IP backhaul to internet. That means if you have a remote mine and the mine office is sitting, the mine office can see, create a virtual network of CUG calls. You get a SIM card on your 5G enabled phone. You can talk to each other. You can run a SIP enabled phones. You can do video calls. This is all remote without having any ISP or anything, because this runs on a normal spectrum of 5G. It also gives you all the applications that is required, right? If you are running inventory, you don't need to lay cables or anywhere where the landscape is changing because of it's a mine and all that. I'm just giving you an example of a mine. There are empty number of examples. You can look at ports, you can look at warehouses, you can look at manufacturing, a lot of industrial stuff that we can do in terms of putting this edge. And this edge actually, I believe strongly, would power the next generation of data centers in India.